Hi everyone, my name's Scott. Welcome to Planes, Trains, Everything and welcome to Bohemian Switzerland. I'm spending the week in the village of Hrensko in northern Czechia, and today this is the jewel in the crown. This is the Bohemian Switzerland National Park, and apparently it's a good one. Fancy going for a walk? Yeah, let's go. Apparently the area is called Bohemian Switzerland because back in the days, two artists from Switzerland arrived and decided this looked very much like their homeland. I've been to Switzerland and I'm not seeing any snow-capped majestic peaks. I'm not seeing any cows halfway up mountainsides with bells under their necks. I think they're on the schnapps. Just noticed the evidence of a forest fire here. One of the things I wanted to see may be closed as a result of this. I'll explain what that is when we get to it, assuming I can get to it because I think it's closed. Well, you can still smell the carbon, I guess that's what it is. This was in 2022, so it's been about a year and a half since the fire, and you can still smell it in the air. I think today's going to be a warm one, hence the hat. Of course I forgot to bring my sunscreen with me, so I could be burnt to a frazzle. We'll worry about that when it happens, if it happens. Okay, this is the turn-off for the number one attraction. One thing about the forest fire, you can now see the geology behind it, and it's very impressive. I've been looking to see what's growing after the fire, and as far as I can see, only like bracken fern and stuff. It'll take a few years for this to recover. The track up here is lined with signs reminding you to keep to the path. They don't want any wild hiking. They don't want people kind of wandering around just damaging what's left of the soil here. Bohemian Switzerland National Park was founded in the year 2000, and it's home to Pravčická Brána, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is Europe's largest natural sandstone arch. Not sure how many natural sandstone arches there are in Europe, but this is the largest. A span of 26.5 metres, inside height of 16 metres, and 8 metres maximum width. And we should be there in about 20 minutes. To be honest, the orange sandstone cliffs around here remind me more of the Blue Mountains National Park west of Sydney, rather than Switzerland. Two ways to go, which way? Decisions. I've decided to go to the left because that's where the Germans went and they seem to know where they're going, so I'll follow them. Aha, that's what we're looking for, the little red and white symbol. Is impressive. Worth the trek up the hill in the heat and humidity? Definitely. Entry into the arch area is 50 crowns, which is just over £2. But they do have a cafe down there. I've got bratwurst. It's now 11:20 and I haven't had breakfast. Right, breakfast. Okay, your 50 krona, which is around about £2, just over £2, allows you access into the actual park itself, where you will find a very small souvenir shop, a toilet which is free of charge, and the only place in the national park where you can probably buy something to eat and drink. I hadn't had breakfast, so I had to do it. As it turned out, it was okay because despite costing something like 250 krona, which is just over £10, it started to rain and I was able to keep dry underneath the arch. Right, let us go exploring. There's a path down here. I'm curious to see where it goes. More stairs.
Okay.
Well, that was definitely worth the entrance fee. I'm now going to leave this area and do a bit of adventuring because I want to find something which appears on a map but doesn't appear on the internet. I saw on a map what looked like a funicular or a cable car, but I couldn't find any references to it online. So I thought, right, after I've seen the arch, I'm going to do some investigating. Sure enough, there is a cable car, but it's used for maintenance only and to bring stocks up to the shop up here. I noticed the one I captured just there had important things on it. 2 kegs of beer. I do love walking through tunnels. It's one of my things. Look at the honeycomb effect on that sandstone. That is seriously nice. I'm still thinking about that cable car. I knew it wouldn't be open to the public if it did operate at all because it would have been a tourist attraction here in the Bohemian Switzerland National Park. But I kind of hoped that maybe it was possible to go down on it just for a laugh, but no, it was not going to happen. That's a shame really. I know a lot of people climbing up here to the arch was seriously struggling. I would rate this as a moderate graded walk because it's heavy going in places and there's lots of steps and they're very uneven steps as well. They've used logs and things and it's a little bit dangerous, especially coming down. You've got to take your time. Okay, having discovered what the cable car was all about, that saved me a bit of time. And now I'm going to walk down to one of the river gorges. Okay, we're back onto the main road, if you can call it a main road, and I'm looking for a turn off on the right which will take me to the village of Mezna, and from there on we head down into a gorge, very pretty apparently, and then we head out of the gorge. There's a lookout tower and other things I want to find. But just up here was where I was going to go exploring for that cable car, if it existed. Well, I know it does. And the bottom station is just down here somewhere. That was the road for the cable car. Okay, we've got about maybe 1.5 to 2 kilometres and we should come to the turn-off for Mezna. Oh, this has been a relentless, must be 4 kilometres just uphill, relentlessly uphill. And I'm starting to think, where's the turn-off? Boom, civilization. Thank goodness. Two kilometres to Mezna. The good thing about going to Mezna is the fact that I'm not actually going there. I'm turning off before we hit the town itself and doing a left turn down into a gorge. I'm hoping it's worthwhile. Jäger, 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 Jäger. Ettrich, 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 Ettrich. As I mentioned before we get to Mezna, I'm going to be doing a left turn down into a gorge. After that, heading up the hill into the town of Janov. And according to that sign back there, it's 5 kilometres and it should take 1 hour 45 minutes. As it turns out, I missed the first turn off. I think I saw it, but I thought it was a private driveway and I wasn't going to go down there. That was it apparently. But always have a plan B. Plan B, go into the centre of the village of Mezna, and here, sure enough, that's where all the tourists are. There's loads of tourists up there having dinner, just standing around talking, whatever. And there's people in front of me, so we're on the right road this time. And it's going to be downhill for the next kilometre, I think. And it's treacherous because it started to rain and it's a bit slippery. This is seriously steep, and it's going to be just as bad on the other side when we're going up. Yeah, what goes down must come up, and I think this is going to be steep on the other side because we're entering a canyon and you can hear the water already.
Já jsem proti pravidlovej.
Počkat, paní učitelka řekla, že máme jít po zelený.
1 hour and 20 minutes to the next village of Janov, 5 kilometres. Coming down into the gorge, I had to overtake about 10 Americans and then about 15 Czech schoolboys. And as a result, I couldn't capture any of the tranquility of the gorge. So it was absolute party time down there. I also noticed as well that the walk along the gorge to the gorge boat trips is closed. Now I wanted to go along there because even though I knew it was closed, for some reason they're not operating the boat trips at the moment. There's a tunnel that is hewn into the side of the gorge. And having a think about tunnels, I wanted to give it a try. Unfortunately, not this time. Okay, for the next half an hour I think I'm going to be climbing out of this gorge. So let's pack this camera away. I should also say this side of the gorge is really quite overgrown. There's blackberries and other nasty things waiting to sting you as you go past. Overgrown in places, and basically it's up to you not to fall down. On the other side, however, hand railings, proper steps, the whole lot. You can see where most people approach the gorge from. Oh. Right, I am putting the camera away this time. Okay, as long as we see the little painted green and white indicators, we should be okay. Well, this is, I think, a slightly longer route, but it saves me getting lost somewhere in the middle of in Bohemian Switzerland, doesn't it? Oh, geez, oh. This is going to be a struggle. Wow. The sign back there said 2 kilometers to Janov. I can do that. And from there I think it's probably another 4 kilometers back to Hrensko. I've also noticed that the trail markers have changed from green and white to yellow and white. Good job I noticed that, otherwise I'd be panicking. Here's another one. That's what we're looking for. And there's another one on the next tree. And another one on the next tree. No chance of getting lost on this trail. Coming from Scotland, I'm kind of used to the rain. This is not too bad. It's constant, but it's actually warmer than the rain back home, so it's actually quite refreshing. I've come up with a theory. Right, sorry, there's a split in the road here, that way. I've come up with a theory that the chances of it raining are directly proportional to how far away you are from your hotel room. Yes, the further you are away from your hotel room, the greater the chance that it's going to rain. Okay, I'm drenched, but I was kind of hot and drenched, so I don't mind. I should be in Janov in about 15 minutes. You know, I still can't get over the fact that I arrived at that gorge bridge back there at the same time as those 15 Czech schoolboys. You couldn't have planned it any better, because the plan was that if the gorge walk was closed, I was going to nip over the barrier and go for a little walk along it anyway. The reason why it's closed is because the punt that takes the punters along the river gorge is not open at the moment, so to save people walking 2 kilometers, being disappointed and having to come back, that's what it was there for. But I wanted to go there to look at this pedestrian tunnel that they've carved into the wall of the gorge. Czech schoolboys, honestly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached civilization. A golf course. This must be Janov. Unfall Gefahr. Look out for flying golf balls. That was a first. A national walking trail over a golf course. But I like the fact they had a little marker right in the middle of the course in case you got lost and ended up in the 18th hole. Okay, I made a joke about ending up on the 18th hole. I was crossing another fairway and I took a wrong turn and I ended up with a bunch of golfers, and I thought, oh, I might have taken the wrong turn somewhere. But I think we're right now. I've got a couple of guys ahead of me, so I'm just following them. I hope they're not lost. I nearly missed that one. Apart from being near Janov, I haven't got a clue where I am, because my map was only accurate to a certain point. I mean, do I go that way now, or do I keep going? I'll keep going. Achtung! Golfplatz. Oh, okay. Aha! I can see a signal up ahead, a little yellow and white thing. Well, that's disappointing. That's the observation tower. But it is open to the public. Why is that disappointing? Well, I thought I passed it about 5 kilometers ago. It just goes to show you I've got still a long way to go before I finish this walk. That's disappointing. Am I going to go up the tower? Any other day I probably would, but because of the walking I've been doing today and the climbs and the stairs and whatever, maybe not. Right, let's just get to Janov. This is downtown Janov. I might have a little quick look around and then I'll head. That's the road back to Hrensko. Okay, I started here this morning, went up to the national park, around that way to Mezna. I've now ended up at the golf course, Janov, and I think we're heading along this road here. I really hope so. I'm hoping I'm heading in the right direction. The first road sign I saw said Hrensko that way, 4.5 kilometers. I've seen two heading in that direction, no mileage, but this is where most of the traffic seems to be going to and from. So I'm guessing I'm heading in the right direction. I am heading downhill though, I didn't expect to be doing that. It's very pretty around here, but this road definitely is not the safest of roads to walk along. This part's not too bad, but back there was a crash barrier and there was no kind of jump over the side in case a car came too close. It was a sheer drop of about 40 feet. But at least we're still heading downhill, and that's a good sign because we're heading towards the River Elbe. Should I go up and have a closer look? How cool is that old building? Seriously. I was trying to read what was on the side and all I could read was something house, but I did see one of the bricks had the word Gesellschaft on it, which is German for company. So it does date back to the old German occupation days. There's a lot of German influence in this area. I may have to try and research this when I get home, find out what it was or what it's going to be. And if so, I'll let you know right here. Another cool discovery. I think that one's dated 1750. That one there, it says Johann Christoph Hiesel anno 1737. How absolutely amazing. Looks as if there's ancient graffiti around here. 1883. There's a lot more graffiti in amongst the bushes, but there's also nettles, so I'm not going to get too adventurous. That is actually very interesting. That last one was 1943, during the Second World War, when this was part of Germany. Amazing stuff. Well guys, I've made it back to the lookout over Hrensko. That was a much better day than I expected it to be. I know I couldn't be disappointed because of the sandstone arch in the Bohemian Switzerland National Park. It was full of tourists, but the walk itself was brilliant. I think I must have walked about 20 kilometers. I'm going to work it out and let you know below, but my legs are going whoom, whoom, whoom. It was a sore one today. And to be honest, the part from Janov to Hrensko I thought was going to be really, really boring. That was one of the highlights of the entire walk. Just seeing that old building that had been abandoned there since the German times and seeing those rock carvings, they were some of the highlights of the entire trip, and I hope you enjoyed them as well. So thanks very much for coming along with me. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time.